Do you or a loved one suffer from anxiety, depression, or PTSD? Have you ever tried getting an emotional support animal? The process is not only hard, but it's expensive as well. At the end of my speech, I hope to persuade my audience that there should not be any fees associated with registering emotional support animals. I myself suffer from anxiety and PTSD. I have 3 dogs. They should all be registered ESA, but they are not. I cannot get through the red tape of having them registered as such. I believe that the presence of emotional support animals helps those with anxiety and PTSD much like medication does. Therefore, there shouldn't be any fees to register these animals. The expected fees are astronomical, therefore making the registration process unreachable for some of the people who really need these animals to be registered. Also, housing is sometimes an issue due to the fact of not allowing unregistered emotional support animals at the property. The fees of registration come into play here as well. The first thing I would like to talk about is how the presence of emotional support animals helps those with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. The presence of an emotional support animal helps the symptoms of these conditions, much like medication. Therefore, it acts like a prescription in most cases. The ESA can help the person deal with their condition and help them cope with daily life's ups and downs. An emotional support animal is also used for patients with mental health disabilities. These animals help the patients feel less alone and give them the unconditional love to lift their spirits in daily life. An ESA takes the place of medication in some patients' cases, therefore saving them from being dependent on certain medications. A mental health care professional will use their judgment, and if they believe that the patient will benefit from using this therapy, they will prescribe an ESA for the patient. Now that I have explained what an ESA is used for, let me tell you how the process works and what an ESA letter is and how to get one. Okay, now you know what an ESA is used for. Now you need a letter to make it official. This process requires fees that can be unreachable for most, causing them not to be able to complete the registration process. The first thing you need to do is make an appointment with your mental health care provider. Explain to them that you have done your research and that you think you would benefit from the therapy of having an emotional support animal. In some cases, this therapy would be suggested, therefore you wouldn't even have to do this. There are sources online to get this process completed if you don't have your own doctor. You can go online and go through the process there. Of course, there are fees involved in both processes. Some of the recommended websites are Petable and Certipet. Both have fees for the consultation with the mental health care provider and the letter being made official. Now, let's go over some of the reasons you would need an ESA letter in the first place. Just a couple reasons for having an ESA verification letter are housing and taking your animal with you in public spaces. We all know when you move into a new house or apartment, there are a bunch of fees, most of which you cannot get around, but among those is the pet deposit. With an ESA verification letter, you wouldn't have to pay that deposit. Taking your ESA with you into public places can be challenging. You worry about what would be said to you or what would happen. Having an ESA letter proving you need your companion would take that worry away from you. In conclusion, the purpose of my speech was to persuade my audience that there should not be any fees associated with registering emotional support animals. I have explained to you that the presence of emotional support animals helps those with anxiety and PTSD, much like medication does. Therefore, there shouldn't be any fees to register these animals. The expected fees are astronomical, therefore making the registration process unreachable for some of the people who really need these animals to be registered. Also, housing is sometimes an issue due to the fact of not allowing registered emotional support animals at the property. The fees of registration come into place here as well. In the bigger picture, this is an issue I hope to see resolved for people like me that have emotional support animals that I cannot afford to register or train. We are a group of people that need help and cannot afford to help ourselves. These animals make our day and help us in times of need. That should not be something we have to prove on paper.